27 hit me like a freight train I never saw coming. Career imploded, relationship ended, health crashed, and I thought I was losing my mind. Turns out, I was right on schedule. There's a pattern hidden in your life that operates like clockwork. The ancient Egyptians mapped it. Pythagoras calculated it. Jung wrote about it. A 7-year cycle that governs your existence whether you acknowledge it or not. You've been told aging is random, that crises at 27, 42, 49 are just bad luck, that if you work hard enough you can override biology. But here's what the mystery schools knew, and modern psychology is rediscovering. Your life isn't a straight line. It's a spiral, and every 7 years, that spiral demands something from you. Complete the task you ascend. Ignore it, you repeat the lesson. With interest. In this video, you'll discover what actually happens at 27 during your first Saturn return and why so many people crash. Why 42 and 49 are statistical peaks for divorce, bankruptcy, and sudden health crises. And how to stop fighting the rhythm and start riding it. But first, you need to understand what Thoth called the breadcrumbs of God. The mathematical code hidden in your cells that determines whether you thrive or merely survive. When you were born, nobody handed you an instruction manual. Nobody told you that your life would unfold in precise mathematical phases. Nobody warned you that at 7, 14, 21, 27, the universe would expect specific things from you. So you grew up thinking you were in control, thinking you could do anything, anytime, thinking that aging was just your body randomly falling apart. But it's not. The Egyptians knew this. The Greeks knew this. Indigenous cultures across the planet knew this. They mapped human development with the same precision they mapped celestial movements, because as above, so below. What happens in the cosmos happens in your biology. And the number 7 wasn't chosen arbitrarily. 7 colors in the visible spectrum before the octave repeats. 7 notes in the musical scale before you hit the next C. 7 days in a week across nearly every culture on Earth. 7 major energy centers running up your spine. Nature breathes in 7s. And so do you. Every 7 years, your skeletal system completely rebuilds itself. Your skin regenerates in 7-week cycles. Your DNA responds to frequencies that operate in multiples of 7. The ancients didn't invent this. They observed it. And they noticed something crucial. When you resist the natural flow of these cycles, something breaks. It's not divine punishment. It's spiritual physics. Like trying to swim upstream against a riptide. You might make progress for a while, but eventually the current takes you. And often, it drowns you. Let me tell you something that's going to reframe your entire life. You've probably noticed that certain ages carry strange weight. 27, 35, 42, 49. At these ages, lives implode, careers collapse, bodies develop diseases that weren't there 6 months ago. Marriages end for reasons neither person can articulate. And the person looks around thinking, why me? Why now? It's not bad luck, it's Saturn. Saturn, the cosmic taskmaster, takes 29.5 years to orbit the Sun. And every 7 years of that journey, it forms an exact mathematical angle to where it was when you were born. Astrologers call this a square. Thoth called it an adjustment portal. And at these portals, the universe asks, did you complete this cycle's task? If yes, you level up. If no, you repeat, but harder this time. Let's start from the beginning. Birth to age 7. This is the feeling phase. A child isn't just learning to feel hungry or tired. They're learning to identify rage, sadness, joy, terror. But here's the problem. They don't have language for it yet. They cry but don't know it's called grief. They scream but don't know it's called rage. The parent's job in this cycle is sacred. It's to name the emotions. When a mother sees her kid huddled in the corner, tears streaming down, and says, "You're feeling sad, aren't you? Come here, talk to me." The child learns that this pain has a name, that it can be shared, that they don't have to carry it alone. But when parents ignore it, when they say, "Stop crying, toughen up," when they dismiss, the child doesn't learn self-recognition, and they enter the second cycle broken. 7 to 14, the empathy phase. Now it's not just about feeling your own emotions, it's about recognizing them in others, looking at a classmate and knowing they're hurting even if they're smiling, reading the room, sensing tension, feeling energy. This is emotional intelligence, but if you didn't learn to name your own emotions in the first 7 years, how are you going to recognize someone else's? You won't. You'll become that adult who can't tell when their partner is shutting down, who doesn't notice when their friend is screaming for help behind a joke, who says, "But I didn't do anything wrong," because truly they don't know what they did. They can't see it. Carl Jung called this shadow blindness, the inability to perceive what you haven't integrated in yourself. 14 to 21. This is where things get interesting, something awakens. It's the phase where teenagers instinctively start seeking spirituality. Not necessarily religion, but answers to questions school doesn't teach. Who am I? Why am I here? Is there something beyond this material reality? Thoth called this the opening of the inner eye. This is when a young person should be exploring philosophy, meditation, symbolism, art as soul language. But what happens instead? They're thrown into SAT prep, pressured to pick a career that'll define the next 40 years, bombarded with study, produce, consume, marry, have kids, buy a house. And the spiritual question gets suffocated. When someone hits 21 without having touched this layer, without having built a personal belief system, a connection to the invisible, they enter the fourth cycle empty. And that's when the tragedy of 27 begins. 27 years old. This is the first major portal, mathematically exact. Saturn, which was at one point when you were born, is now at a 90-degree angle from that point, the first square. And the universe looks at you and asks, what have you built? Did you learn to feel? Did you learn to perceive others? Did you find your spiritual connection? If you did, at 27 you'll naturally start structuring your material life. You'll get married or leave relationships that no longer serve you. You'll move cities or switch careers. You'll have a child, write a book, start a company. Something will be born. But if you didn't do the previous cycles, at 27 you collapse. Google the 27 Club. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, all dead at 27, all brilliant artists, but none of them completed the tasks of the earlier cycles. Emotionally fragmented, spiritually disconnected, empathy broken. When Saturn came calling, there was no structure to hold them. This isn't romantic tragedy, it's hermetic mathematics. Now let's say you survived 27, you got the message, made adjustments. Started working, saving, building something solid. 28 to 34, this is the materialization cycle. Time to produce. Not just earn money, but create something tangible. A business, a family, a body of work, a contribution. Thoth said, what you plant in this cycle, you'll harvest for the next 3. But if you hit 28 and you're still in the same patterns as 21, still financially dependent, still waiting for someone to save you, you're out of rhythm. And your body starts warning you. Diseases that never existed appear out of nowhere. Random accidents multiply. Life starts falling apart. It's not punishment. It's forced recalibration. 35 years old. Another portal opens. 3 + 5 = 8. In Hermetic numerology, 8 is the number of material power, administration, self-sufficiency. 35 to 42. You need to work. Hard. Not in the sense of slavery, but in the sense of mastery. You need to dominate your field, build resources, create a solid foundation. Because at 42, everything changes again. And if you don't have structure, you fall. 42 years old, 4 + 2 = 6. The number of family, care, mutual responsibility. This cycle, 42 to 49, you need to invest in your tribe. Not just blood family, but the people you consider family. It's time to use the money you saved to gather, to care, to sustain. If you hit 42 alone, isolated, without real bonds, the universe will force you to stop. Elvis Presley died at 42. He had fame, money, crowds that worshipped him, but no real family, no genuine connection, completely alone in a palace full of people, and his body just gave up. 49 years old, 4 + 9 = 13, 1 + 3 = 4, the number of career death and rebirth. 49 to 55, you need to radically change how you work. If you've been doing the same thing for 20 years, the same way, in the same place, you're stagnant. and stagnation is death. In this cycle, you need to accept change, switch roles, modify your business model, pivot completely if necessary. Michael Jackson was 50 when he died. He was rehearsing for a tour where he'd do the exact same choreography, the same songs, the same way he'd done for decades. It wasn't renewal, it was repetition, and his body knew it. 56 years old, you enter the spiritual teacher cycle. 5 plus 6 equals 11. 11 is the number of the spiritual leader, the teacher, the truth speaker. 56 to 63, you need to teach. Not necessarily on a giant stage, could be in a small room, could be in a study group, could be at a restaurant table, but you need to share what you've learned, need to motivate, inspire, guide. If you refuse, if you say, "I'm shy, I can't speak publicly," you're resisting your own destiny. And resistance creates friction, and friction creates disease. 63 years old, 6 plus 3 equals 9. The number of the therapist, counselor, compassionate listener. 63 to 70, you need to hold space for others' pain. Listen without judgment. Give advice without imposing. Be present for those who are suffering. Could be professionally, as a therapist. Could be as a volunteer. Could be informally, being that person everyone seeks when they're struggling. But you need to serve. If you hit 63 and you're locked in your house, bitter, isolated, complaining about life, you're out of cycle, and the body collects. 70 years old, 7 plus 0 equals 7. The mystic's number itself. 70 to 77, you need to study. Not entertainment, not news, not gossip, deep knowledge, astrology, hermeticism, alchemy, sacred texts from all traditions. The mysteries you postponed your entire life. This is the magician's cycle. The wise hermit. You withdraw from the noisy world and dive into the silence of ancient books, and when you hit 77, you return to the social world. But different now. You don't come back to talk about weather or complain about politics. You return carrying symbols, carrying solutions, carrying healing. You're the elder who resolves conflicts just by being present, who answers questions with stories that change lives. 84 years old, 8 plus 4 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3, the number of joy, creativity, celebration. 84 to 91, you need to have fun, travel, dance, laugh, gather family for parties, tell funny stories, live light. This is the harvest cycle, and if you planted well, you'll live this in fullness. But if you hit 84 sick, alone, bitter, it's because you skipped cycles way back, and there's still time to correct. Always is. 91 years old, 9 plus 1 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1. The restart. 91 to 98, you need to create again. Start a new project, have new ideas, work on something that doesn't exist yet. It's not mental retirement, it's renewal. There are 91-year-old entrepreneurs launching startups, 95-year-old ranchers still riding horses, because they understood the rhythm. And if you follow correctly, you reach 105. 1 plus 0 plus 5 equals 6, the number of expanded family. At this age, you gather everyone, distant cousins, relatives who haven't spoken in decades. You do family constellation work in person, and in that gathering, something magical happens. Ancestors get liberated, descendants get protected, all the chakras of the lineage align. Oscar Niemeyer did this at 104, gathered his entire family, resolved all pending issues, and lived in peace until he departed, knowing he'd completed all cycles. Now here's the question you're probably asking. What if I'm past some of these cycles and didn't do what I should have? Relax. You're not doomed. The spiral isn't a straight line. You can go back and complete the tasks you missed. If you're 35 and realize you never built your spirituality from 14 to 21, start now. If you're 50 and realize you never learned empathy from 7 to 14, learn now. The universe doesn't want to punish you. It wants you to evolve. And every time you complete a delayed task, your body's cells respond. They regenerate, they reorganize. Because Hermetic time isn't linear, it's a spiral. And in a spiral, you can always climb one more step. So here's what you need to do right now. First, identify which cycle you're in. Take your age, divide by 7, look at the remainder. If you're 29, you're at the beginning of the 5th cycle. If you're 44, you're in the middle of the 7th. Second, ask yourself honestly, did I complete the tasks of previous cycles? Did I learn to feel my emotions? Did I develop empathy? Did I find my spirituality? Did I build something material? Did I care for my tribe? If the answer is no to any of these, don't panic, just begin. Third, accept the flow of your current cycle. If you're in the work cycle, work. If you're in the teaching cycle, teach. If you're in the study cycle, study. Stop resisting. Because resistance is what creates disease. Resistance is what creates accidents. Resistance is what shortens your life. And fourth, understand that longevity isn't luck, it's obedience to sacred rhythms. People who live past 100 aren't genetically blessed. They simply, consciously or unconsciously, followed the cycles. They accepted the tides. Thoth left these breadcrumbs everywhere, in the stars, in numbers, in your own body, because he knew you'd get lost, knew that the third dimension would distort your memory. So he left signs, and now you know one of them, the 7-year code, the spiral of life, the mathematics of longevity. If something in this video resonated, if you recognized a pattern that was invisible until now, there's a reason. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were summoned. And now that you know you have a choice, you can ignore this and keep resisting the flow, or you can align, adjust your steps, and start surfing the tides of time. The choice was always yours. But now at least, you know there is a choice. And those who recognize the cycles know exactly what to write in the comments now. 3 words that seal the recognition. 3 words that show you've seen beyond the veil. If you felt them while watching this, write in the comments, I recognize rhythm. Just that. Because those 3 words activate something. Not in me, in you. And for the next 7 days, pay attention. Pay attention to how many times the number 7 appears in your life. Write it down, because the universe is always speaking. You just need to learn to listen. I'm just a messenger. The breadcrumbs were always here. Deep peace.